travelers, and luxury destination adventurers. It's now time to enjoy the journey on Enjoy the Journey with David Hartman and guests. And now, here's David Hartman.
In the Keys.
Happy Monday afternoon. David Hartman here on the Enjoy the Journey Luxury Travel Show. I am David Hartman, owner of Fantastic Endeavors Travel Agency. I'm the travel agent that always asks two questions. What is your bucket list trip? And where do you wish you were right now? I bet you a lot of you wish you were here in the Keys in Key Largo. We are broadcasting live today from the Conch House, the Key Largo Conch House. One of the best restaurants in town, been here 15 years. Going to have a wonderful show, so stick around for the next hour. And we're going to talk luxury cruising and luxury travel. I do have a special guest today. It's Alicia Logan, Sales Director for Atlas Ocean Voyages, a new sponsor of our show. And before we get to Alicia, let me run through some sponsors and some housekeeping. And we look forward to talking to you for the next hour or so. So first off, we are on the Radio A1A Media Network and the A1A Road to Paradise group. Thanks for joining us today. And we appreciate the sponsors of the A1A Media Network. Obviously, Atlas Ocean Voyages, Luxe-Expeditions is a brand new sponsor. And we also have, check out our music store on radioa1a.com. That is a brand new feature launched this weekend. Also, Michael Marinelli, the Real Estate Comp. We thank him for always his patronage, realestateconch.com. And Vic Figueroa, Keys Smartphone Repair, is always a wonderful, helpful person. And also Chip Bell, the Jake Sullivan series, chipbellauthor.com. And Jim LaPointe. Talk to Jim for the best mortgage rates in the Keys. Atlas Ocean Voyages offers smaller ships designed for luxe expeditions that extend the reach of adventure travel by sea, with their first ship launching in July 2021. Venture to small villages and remote locations, from the desert city of Petra to the frozen tundra of Antarctica. To experience Atlas Ocean Voyages, call David Hartman at 305-453-9208 or email dave@bucketwishtrip.com. Hello, David Hartman with Fantastic Endeavors. Fantastic Endeavors is a full-service travel agency based in Key Largo, Florida, specializing in custom individual and group travel. Our luxury travel advisors inspire people to answer two questions. What is your bucket list trip? And where do you wish you were right now? Fantastic Endeavors will personally tailor your journey to your needs. We build extraordinary, enriching experiences curated just for you. Call us today at 305-453-9208 or email at dave@bucketwishtrip.com. Enjoy the journey. The Health Genie System Checker answers three important questions when you are feeling ill. What is wrong with me? How ill am I? And where can I receive care? System Checker puts the information and answers at your fingertips with the most advanced triage and healthcare technologies available. Engage on a personal level in your own words to describe your symptoms with no smart trees or drop-down menus that force self-diagnosis. Health Genie System Checker provides an avenue to early healthcare engagement. Glad to have you back. We've been on location the past few weeks, and we're glad to be back in the Keys talking luxury travel. And what better place to talk about Keys is Key Largo Conch House. So, Alicia, thanks for being here today.
My pleasure, David. Thank you for inviting me.
So first off, before we talk about business, we'd like to learn about our guests. And from what I hear, you know the Keys pretty well.
I do. I lived here for the last 4 years in Isla Mirada and absolutely loved it. Spent quite a few evenings having dinner here at the lovely Conch House. best lobster chowder in all the Keys.
Yes, their lobster bisque is fantastic. And I do want to give a shout out. Normally I'd have them on the show, but Ted and Laura Drever, the owners of the Concourse, thank you for hosting us today. And next time we do the show from here, Ted or Laura will come on and talk about what's happening here. But do check out the Concourse. It's at mile marker 100.2 on the ocean side. It's right across from the Waffle House. And it is a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Open up, I believe, from 7:30 till about 10 p.m. at night. And they have wonderful homemade food for a family-owned restaurant. Have you ever had their lobster eggs Benedict?
No, I have not. I haven't been here for breakfast yet.
Come by a Sunday morning, and that is...
Will do.
It's big enough to share.
Okay, perfect.
So we thank the Concourse, and we thanks Atlas. So you are a new sponsor of the show. And what I liked about that is that when I talk to you about what I'm doing, you're familiar with the Keys, you're familiar with some of the locations we had broadcast from, and you also knew of Radio A1A.
Absolutely. Having lived here for the last 4 years, I was very familiar with A1A. So it was very exciting to me that our first solar eclipse group was booked with someone in my own backyard.
That's right. And we're going to talk about my solar eclipse cruise later on in the show. First half of the show, we're going to talk about South America, some of these impressive voyages Atlas does in South America. And then we're going to talk, second half of the show, we'll talk about my trip, a group I have on, which is the Solar Antarctic Eclipse Cruise in November, December 2021, which I'm very excited about. So I appreciate all you being out there today. We have also Radio A1A and Cruising Country Radio listening simulcast. Shout out to all our tropical Americana music fans and our country music fans out there. And obviously the Road to Paradise group, thanks for being here today. We're broadcasting there. And also everyone on my Facebook feed. Please like this feed and share it. It really does help us out. And please like our pages. My Fantastic Endeavors page, Radio A1A, A1A Media Network, and join our A1A Road to Paradise group. And obviously like Atlas Ocean Voyages. They have a Facebook page too. So I ran into Atlas from my friend Michelle, and who used to be in a host travel company I was part of, and I saw she transferred over to Atlas Ocean Voyages. I said, oh, what's that? And it turns out you guys are a new cruise line. You kind of recruited Michelle over to help with sales.
Yes, absolutely. We just opened up for sale at the beginning of this year. So we opened up for sale and launched our new website in January of this year.
Excellent. And the first ship, the World Navigator, launches next July. Next
July. So 1 year from now. She's being built in Portugal right now. Brand new ship from the keel up.
Brand new ship, new build. And that's what I liked about you, because I was talking to a lot of other travel companies and suppliers about sponsoring the show or being involved. And obviously in today's day and age, with no one cruising, they're like, no, our budgets are cut. But you guys are not sailing right now, so you're not being hurt by the current
Correct.
impact. Obviously it's hurting all of us. But,
right.
Yeah. So I like the fact that you were new, and I love Luxe-Expedition. I love that whole concept. My concept for travel is bucket wish trip. It combines places you want to be, where you wish you want to be right now, and also a bucket list. And you have a great combination of both. I mean, one of your itineraries, we reviewed with Brandon in early June. He was on the show. Mm-hmm. It was a bucket list Mediterranean. Yeah. I'm like, that's awesome. And what we're going to talk about next in South America, I reviewed all your itineraries. There's some places I'm like, do cruises go there?
Right.
There's some pretty niche ports. But before we get into South America, what else do people watching who are just either casual cruisers or thinking about going on a smaller ship, what do they need to know about Atlas to make a decision about sailing with your company?
Well, we've really married two cruise categories, the luxury category with the adventure, exploration, expedition category. So it puts us in a whole new unique marketplace. The ships are very small. I actually worked on ships for 10 years.
Oh, which ships?
Well, I was on the Paul Gauguin in Tahiti for a year. And I brought out the Queen Mary II, and then I spent my longest amount of time on the Seabourn Legend, which was almost 5 years. And the interesting thing is, wow, these ships that we're building are very similar in size. They're the same as the ship that I worked on and lived on for 5 years. So they're 10,000 tons, 400 feet. We'll carry 196 passengers in warm water. So like in the Mediterranean itinerary you talked to Brandon about, and 186 passengers in cold water to have room for our expedition team on board.
Well, it's nice that you worked on the smaller ships. And one thing I talked about with Brandon last time at length was you're a new company, a new ship, but the leadership isn't new.
No, not at all. We have a wealth of cruise line experience. I personally have been in the industry for 25 years, so 10 years on ships, 15 years shoreside. Brandon as well, I know he talked about his history, has been with several of the large companies, cruise lines out there, our president as well, and he has some seaborne background as well. And the rest of our executive team has all been with several different cruise lines. So we really bring a wealth of diversity and knowledge to the team.
And that's what I was most impressed with. Like, obviously I knew Michelle, I knew her background before she was with the host I used to work with, and then coming to there, and then I started to learn about the leadership team. And I told you when I first, actually before I even got a hold of Michelle, I reached out to her when she first moved over, but she had just changed over. I was on Brandon's first webinar, which was, I think, just a generic webinar.
Right.
And I'm like, impressed a lot. I said, this guy's very impressive. I'm like, and you were smart that the leadership of your company brought in some experienced people who knew a lot about luxury cruising, small ship cruising, and small ship brands. So I'm glad you found a new home. So
Thank you. Me too.
Do you miss working on the ships?
Well, I've been off the ships now for 15 years, but I can tell you that the first 2 years coming off ships was very difficult to get used to land life again, because the excitement of working on a ship is that you're in a different port every day. And so it's really, it fuels the adrenaline to be in a different country or a different culture. So I really feel like I have the best of both worlds, because I have the ability to still sail occasionally, but also am shoreside now. So helping to build a brand new brand, which is very exciting.
Do you have a favorite ship you worked on?
It would have been the Seaborn Legend, and that's because I spent 5 years there. So they were permanent ships, and we became like a family.
I book a lot of clients on luxury, and Seaborn's one of the best reviews I get back.
Yeah.
There are some great lines out there. And there's a lot of choices in luxury cruise lines, but I like what you're doing is like you start slow, just one ship.
Exactly.
There's fleets of boats out there. And you guys right away went after some very unique itineraries. And I think South America is a perfect example of that. So we're going to talk about a few different itineraries in South America. Now keep in mind these itineraries are date specific because they only have one ship.
Right.
So when they say South America, there's one part, and you want to kind of pick the one that fits both your preference and budget. And what I do like about World Navigator, it's an all-inclusive ship.
Yes.
I mean, it is brand new, it is luxe, but it does have the icebreaker hull, it does have the expedition features, and the naturalists on board, the scientists on board. So really comfortable, but it has that ability to get to smaller ports. And that's what we're talking about with South America.
Right, absolutely. And the interesting thing is, having said that I had worked on ships for a long time and on small ships, we're visiting ports that I've yet to experience as well. So that's really exciting. I've been fortunate to be to over 86 countries, and most of them multiple times, running ShoreX. So I was off the ship more than I was on, and to have these new ports that we're going to and be able to learn about really just keeps it very fresh and new.
I agree, and what's nice is that you mix it up. It's not usually in one part of South America.
Right.
And you can book these back to back, correct?
You can, absolutely. Okay. And so that's another interesting thing, is that we're not repeating any two itineraries. So basically what happens is the ship will be built, she'll come out in July next year, and then she will do a Med and Holy Lands cruise before working her way back through the Med, through the Western Med, and then doing a transatlantic crossing. And then from Barbados, we will start to work our way down towards ultimately Antarctica. And so what we'll do is we will start out in Barbados, we'll call on Tobago and French Guiana. So if anybody remembers that 1973 movie Papillon, that was filmed in French Guiana. And then we'll continue to work our way down the east coast of Brazil. We'll do an equator crossing. So for those of your guests that have never done an equator crossing, that's always a fun experience.
Sure.
Have you crossed the equator yourself before?
I've not crossed the equator myself, no. That's on my to-do list.
I haven't either. Only by air, not by sea.
Only waving to it.
Then we'll actually work our way into Belém, which is in the mouth of the Amazon.
Okay.
And this is a 10-night sailing. This sailing starts October 19th.
And what's this one called? This is the...
It's the one that's moving down from Barbados to, we're going to continue down to Recife.
Okay.
On the October 19th
it's
sailing.
Caribbean and the Amazon.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then we'll go into Fortaleza, which if anybody is interested in ever doing sand buggies, that's where you have the great big sand dunes. And you can also ski on sand there.
Oh, cool. I've heard they have that in Dubai. I didn't realize that.
They have a chairlift that pulls you
Where's
up.
that again?
Fortaleza.
Fortaleza,
Brazil.
Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know they had sand dunes in Brazil.
So that for the adventure seeker, that's a lot of fun, especially the sand buggies. That's the thing you want to do there for sure.
Very nice. But again, thank you. We're at the Enjoy the Journey Luxury Travel Show here on Radio A1A and the A1A Media Network. Appreciate you all joining today. We're here with Alicia Logan with Atlas Ocean Voyages, a brand new sponsor. We also want to thank again the listeners of Radio A1A and Cruise and Country Radio who are listening to the audio simulcast today. And thanks for being part of it. If you have any questions about cruising and travel, put them in the chat. I am watching the chat today. We'll definitely answer your questions. I appreciate you all being here. And Harry Tieford's on the board saying that we're sounding and looking great. Thank you for Harry for helping us with the simulcast today. He's the one sending it out to all the radio networks. And we're here talking luxury cruising. It's a big part of my business. I have a number of clients who are very discriminating. And then actually, some are they're young, late 40s and 50s, who are heavily looking into my Antarctica cruise, but they've done garden villas on ships and other nice cruises. I've had clients that done Antarctica already with, with a price tag you could buy a nice car with.
Right.
That is okay. If that's how you want to spend your money. And these are things that you're planning way ahead. These are over a year in advance. And these are kind of things that we represent with our show because we like seeing niche exploration. Mm-hmm. And when I met Michelle and met Brandon and saw your company, and I really said, that's the kind of company I want to work with. And we do appreciate your sponsorship of the show. How do people find you? You have a new website, I heard.
We do. We just launched our 2.0 version on Monday. So 2.0. It's atlasoceanvoyages.com. Please stop by and visit us there.
Check it out. And if you want a book a voyage on Atlas Ocean Voyages, contact me, the preferred contact from the show, David Hartman, 305-453-9208, or dave@bucketwishtrip.com. On my website, you'll see the Antarctica cruise I'm promoting and traveling on later next year. We'll talk about that later on in the show, so stay tuned for important information. We're talking South America, and we're talking a small cruise ship that can get to niche ports.
Right.
And I really liked it. Can I see the itinerary?
Sure, absolutely.
Oh,
that's for our October 29th sailing.
Your copies are a lot nicer than mine.
That's our 13-night sailing.
So the October 29th one, let's go back to the one you were talking about, the 19th one. So it's a one-ship operation when they start, and I guess the next ship will come out, you said 2022.
We'll actually have 2 come out in 2022 and 2 more in 2023, so we'll have a fleet of 5 identical sister ships.
More ships to sell?
Yes.
And the idea of the first year is they're doing kind of one-way itineraries from the Caribbean to Antarctica. And these are, if you can't come on my Antarctica cruise, or if you want to do a back-to-back-to-back, then Antarctica, you can do that too. Trust me, I've had clients that they do like 2 or 3 week cruises back-to-back. And I got a few world cruise clients too, by the way. That's the biggest fun.
It was funny, actually, when I worked on board, I used to have 2-month contracts off on vacation. Yeah. And we used to have people that sailed with us so long that I came back from vacation after 2 months, and I heard someone say, "Elisa, you're back." And I thought for sure it was a crew member, but it was a guest. They had been on for over 2 months.
Wow.
It does happen.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's some people that live on cruise ships supposedly. It's just amazing. So on the South America itineraries, you can find them on the website, atlasoceanvoyages.com, on the World Navigator. And I like this itinerary. I actually recognize some of the cities because I've been to Barbados. I've been to Charlottesville. I went to grad school in Charlottesville, Virginia, but this is Charlottesville. Charlotte.
Tobago.
That's Tobago. I've been diving in Tobago with Peter Hughes diving, and Peter Hughes actually grew up in Tobago, and that was a lot of fun. That's a fun island. So what's nice about this is that and you check this out, the PDFs are available on their website in the South America section. and this is the Caribbean Amazon. So you start in the Caribbean, end up in the Amazon. They got spots like Devil's Island. That just sounds cool. Never been there. And Port Elisa we talked about, Natal we talked about. So these are niche stops because they're a smaller vessel.
Correct.
They go where the bigger vessels can't. And because they're doing a one-way itinerary, they don't have to skip certain ports and come back the other way.
Right.
So this is basically going from the Caribbean down South America, then to Ushuaia, then the Antarctica cruise.
Correct.
Pretty much.
You've got it exactly right. Yep. We're going to do a crossing into the Caribbean and then leave the Caribbean and work our way down the east coast of South America until we get to Ushuaia for our Antarctica season.
Yes. And keep in mind, these cruises are well over a year away, so we're not talking about cruising this fall because we're not sure if cruising's happening this fall. But by hopefully early next year, we'll be cruising again, and we'll probably doing some smaller cruises in the Caribbean soon. But World Navigator doesn't even launch till a year from now. So we're looking forward to it. Do you have a question from the audience? Or? Probably. There we go. We had some sound difficulties. Appreciate all being here. We are talking luxury cruising, Luxe-Expedition cruising. Cruising on a ship that's smaller than the Spiegel Grove I dive out here, tonnage-wise. A 10,000-ton yacht. It's a ship, but with a 1.1 to 1.4 cruise-to-guest ratio.
Exactly right.
18 Zodiacs on board for the expedition cruises, and they have some cruises we're talking about that are cruise and fun, but they also have expedition cruises that are more adventure-based. And so we're going to finish talking about South America here, then we'll talk about some real expedition. So what's next up after the Caribbean and Amazon? So
that cruise will end in Recife, and then we'll begin our next one, which is October 29th, which is a 13-night sailing that is Recife to Montevideo. But the fantastic thing about this is you do 2 overnights. So nice. The first one is in Rio de Janeiro, which of course everybody's familiar with Rio, and there's lots to do there. You can hang glide, of course hiking to Christ statue. You can hike the Sugarloaf Mountains, which are those mountains the iconic mountains that you see in every postcard. So we'll have 2 full days and an overnight in Rio, which is always fun to do an overnight on a ship. If you haven't experienced it before, it gives you a whole nother feeling to watch the city come alive at night.
Nice. I like when you pronounce it correctly, Montevideo.
Oh, I was just there actually in December of this past year. So.
How was it?
Oh, it was really great. It was my first time to Antarctica, so I flew into Buenos Aires and then did a 2-week sailing to Ushuaia.
Very nice. And I think a lot of the points Alicia makes is the kind of counter to a lot of objections of mass market cruising. Oh, too many people, not on this ship, not enough time in port, or crowded ports, or too many other ships there. I mean, a lot of these you're probably the only ship in port as far as a cruise ship. And that's what I like about luxury cruising and the all-inclusiveness. And we have, I'm sure, a million sales tools out there to show you, like, you go on a cruise, you get a cabin and food, but then after that, everything is additional.
Right.
But luxury cruising, it's a original price tag looks premium, but there's not a big bill at the end.
Correct.
Yeah.
Everything is included except for spa, boutique, and if you wanted to do add on additional shore excursions, because we will have a plethora of pre, post, and even overnight tours that you can do while you're on board the ship. That's really part of marrying the luxury cruise line category with the adventure category.
And that's what I like about the combination, because there are some expedition ships that have been around a long time, but they're a little bit rustic, I would say. And that market's improving. I mean, you guys are right in the kind of growth market. And then we have the luxury component combined with expedition type ships and expedition itineraries. That's what I really love about it. But that's the key, guys. When you look on their website and you look at the pricing, keep in mind that it's the no sticker shop bill at the end of the cruise. And I've been on plenty of cruises where it's like, whoa. It's like, sure, you can check it along the way, but all of a sudden you get your bill for all the fun you've been having on the cruise, and it's like, wow. It's nice you have options for excursions too.
And all included is the airfare as well. So.
Oh, very good point. I know I've been promoting that with my Antarctica cruise. So these cruises too, for regular cabins, economy airfare is included.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. All of our, actually we just started a promotion in July 1st. We went all inclusive all the way. So now all of the airfare is included on all of our sailings.
Very nice. And then is it business class for suites?
It's business class for suites through September 30th.
Oh, so if you want free business class air to one of these cruises, call me now. I had to tell my Antarctica people I've been promoting that for a while. I think, hey Everett, you want to go, right? Business class air ends. So, but still, once that promotion expires, you still get economy air for all.
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
So even the South America sailings we're discussing, we start in the Caribbean, we go down the Amazon,
Yes.
now we're getting down Montevideo, air's
Correct.
included.
We'll have 16 gateways out of North America.
16 now?
Yes.
Okay. And they're all, I've looked up, they're all major gateways.
They are.
We can't list them all here, but they are on the website.
They are.
I do have access to them, so any questions at all about Atlas Ocean Voyages, how to book, what itinerary is good for you. Again, they launch next July. One ship that will navigate with more ships coming in 2022 and beyond then. And they do sail one ship around the world in different itineraries. Last time Brandon was on the show, the VP of sales, we talked about bucket list Mediterranean and Antarctica. And then this time we're talking about South America. And I saw this in your experience in the region. This is perfect because these cruises lead up to my cruise.
Exactly.
So my clients listening that do book for a month, you can book some of these back to back and then join us in Antarctica. I got a friend from Argentina, and for them, Antarctica's going for us going to the Caribbean. And she's like, oh, when you get done, go here, go there. I'm like, I said, I'll think about it. It said there's a triangle tour with the Iguazu Falls and everything in Argentina. And I'm like, well, let me just work on the cruise first.
Right.
So we are looking at adding my own group that I'm taking. We are looking at adding some additions to our time on the cruise ship.
Oh, great.
Fun.
Some pre or post? Or post, I guess.
Yeah, pre or post. Not just Buenos Aires, but definitely want to do Iguazu. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So we have one more itinerary to go through for South America.
Yep.
We've made our way from the Caribbean to the Amazon, now to Montevideo, down the
Right.
coast. And we are going to...
We'll be leaving out of, on November 11th, it'll be an 8-night sailing. We'll be starting in Montevideo. And this will work us all the way down the east coast around to Ushuaia. So we'll leave Montevideo and we will call on Buenos Aires, so the home of the tango, for any of you that would like to learn or watch any of those tango shows. And even the street tango is something that's amazing to see in Buenos Aires. As I mentioned, I was just there in December, and of course there's Casa Rosado there, so our equivalent of the White House, but that's pink. But plenty to do in Buenos Aires. So, of course, fantastic food. We'll be there till 11:45 in the evening. So you'll be able to go off the ship and enjoy a nice steak if you'd like, which they're well known for. And then we'll do some scenic cruising down the Argentinian coast before we go into Puerto Madryn, which has a lot of wildlife. So there's a lot of seals and a lot of whales there. So for those people that are really into the wildlife, that's a great port. And then we'll actually go over to the Falkland Islands.
Okay.
So that's a pretty, this is our one and only itinerary that will go to the Falkland Islands.
Very good.
So anybody that wants to do any of the battlefields, I was just in the Falkland Islands, and they still have the bunkers there. Went to a really interesting lighthouse for anybody that loves to go to visit lighthouses. This isn't your typical ordinary functioning one. You have to go to the Maritime Museum, pick up a key that's about this big, that's wrought iron, and then find somebody to drive you about 20 minutes, because you can't walk to it from the port. And then you go in and actually insert the key and open up the lighthouse door yourself. You're the only one in there. And they only have 5 keys, so you're only able to check out 5 keys. So I did a lot of research to find that.
So Falkland Islands. So this is the Argentina thrill itinerary.
Yes.
I love the marketing department's name for everything.
And this is also where you'll see a lot of penguins. This is where you'll start to see the Gen 2 penguins. And we were there in December, so there was babies that were burrowed in the nest that we could see, and you see a lot of penguins on the beach. So that's very interesting for anyone that's into birds.
We all love penguins, which we'll see a lot of in Antarctica. So Falkland Islands, what's the other name for the Falkland Islands? Don't the locals call it something different?
You've stumped me.
The Malvinas Islands.
Oh, okay. All right. I did not know that.
Because we had a speaker when I was in college. The war was '82, right?
Right.
Where the U.S. no one knew of the Falkland Islands, which is a beautiful stop, as you mentioned, until '82, where the U.S. got involved in an internal civil war, I believe. I think it was. But the people, I think, lost that war, or the locals call it Malvinas Islands. We had this speaker that refused to call it the Falkland Islands.
I'd never heard that. So
yeah, it's
that's some good trivia.
little bit politically charged. This was like 1988, so still some animosity there towards that whole thing. But it is one of these, again, these niche stops that you don't find in a normal cruise, that you have to find on these one-way Luxe-Expedition cruises that Atlas does. So.
And the interesting thing too about that it was brought to my attention when we were there. I didn't actually pick up on it when I was there, but we basically traversed the whole island, and it was brought to my attention, there's no trees. So that's kind of an interesting thing to do, especially, we're here on islands today in the Keys, and I've been to many islands, and to be on one that is, really, doesn't have any trees. So it was very, not very lush, but it was very interesting, and you can do helicopter rides to be able to go out to see the penguins as well.
Nice. I mean, because there's penguins there because we're getting closer to Antarctic Circle. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to. Now, the Antarctic itinerary doesn't go to the Falkland Islands. They go to some other islands in the region. Okay. That's part of the itinerary. But we're here with Alyssa Logan from Atlas Ocean Voyages on the A1A Radio Network and A1A Media. Thank you all for being here today. We are live from the Key Largo Conch House, mile marker 100.2 on the ocean side in Key Largo, Florida. One of the best restaurants in town, open breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And by the way, Keys are open for business. Just asterisk for now. We are open, there is no checkpoint, and keep in mind that please come down and patronize our sponsors and the locations that sponsor us. We thank again Ted and Laura Drever for sponsoring the location today. And again, we're going to switch over and talk about Antarctica. But I did want to give a plug, atlasoceanvoyages.com. Contact me for any questions about any itineraries or booking a cruise with them. And they are a preferred sponsor of my travel show. So I appreciate all you being here today. And please, any questions, put them in the chat. I see a few here already we'll get to that one about South America. But hey, Michelle, glad you're watching.
Hi, Michelle.
Got a lot of viewers out there today. Thank you all for being here. It's always on Monday afternoon. We're not sure who's going to be on it. Next, we're going to switch over to Antarctica. And it's a cruise I'm very excited about. I have talked about on the show previously when Brandon was here and also on other shows. And we really want to kind of delve in to what people can do going back to back. And from what the timing goes, so the November 11th cruises finish the 19th.
Correct.
And then I guess in Ushuaia, if you're not sure where Ushuaia is, it's on the south of South America, near Straits of Magellan.
Yes, it's the southernmost city in South America.
Yes. And my friend Giselle I told you about, she's like, I love Ushuaia. I'm like, I can tell you're from there.
Right.
I don't even know where that is, and you love it. That's great. I'm sure Giselle's watching today. She called me after the show Brandon was on with all these crazy information tips. So Ushuaia is the departure port really for all the major cruise lines that go to Antarctica.
Correct.
And what I like about the cruise that you guys are running and the one that I've been putting my reputation behind is that it's not just a wave to the Antarctica shore. Because there are some major cruise lines that can just kind of pass through the waters, get a certificate that you've been near there. This one, you actually land and put your feet on Antarctica.
Right, absolutely. So there's two different kinds of cruising, as you alluded to, in Antarctica. There's scenic cruising, which is what I would just experience this past December. And as you mentioned, that is, it's a beautiful way to see it, but you do not get to actually step foot on ground. So the other opportunity for cruising in Antarctica is on small vessels, because Antarctica only allows 100 people at a time to go ashore. So we have 18 Zodiacs on board, and you'll be able to do 2 landings per day. So while one group is on land hiking, the other group will be out in the Zodiacs exploring the wildlife and the glaciers, or potentially paddle boarding. If you happen to visit our website, there's a fantastic photo there of a group of people paddle boarding. We'll have kayaks and paddle boards, as well as the 18 Zodiacs on board. And then everybody will come back to the ship for lunch, and then they'll swap in the afternoon. So you'll be able to do 2 landings per day. And we provide the parkas, so
Nice.
when you come, you don't have to worry about packing the parka and bringing it with you, and that is yours to return home with. So we have a beautiful, it's a lime green. So here we are in the Keys, key lime green, I'm going to call it.
Key lime
and
green.
it is something that you can take that home with you. And then we also provide the muck boots. We have a muck room on board.
Very nice.
And but the muck boots do stay on board the ship because they're too large. You don't want to have to pack those to take those home with you.
Well, it's cool that you can pack light for this kind of trip. So I really always wanted to go to Antarctica and never had the chance. And then the solar eclipse was happening 3 years ago in the U.S. and we had 45% coverage here. I tried to get the place near where my mom lived, and it was such a zoo. I'm like, I'm staying here.
Right.
So I wished I'd seen the solar eclipse, and a bucket list for me is Antarctica. So this for me is a perfect bucket list trip, and it was the Antarctica webinar by Brandon, and then the sales call we had that really kind of pushed me over, saying I'm definitely doing this cruise.
Well,
So-
it really is kind of a trifecta because
Yeah.
it's Antarctica. You can land on the continent and see a solar eclipse, which you won't see in that area of the world for another 400 years.
And I looked that up on Wikipedia, and it's December. The actual eclipse is on December 4th. It's the 7th day of the cruise, and that is a once in 400-year event for that region.
Yes.
And it goes reverse, where most eclipses, I think, go west to east. This one goes reverse because of the area it is.
Right.
So it's a very unique event. And it is November 28th to December 10th, 2021. Keep in mind, pre and post plans will affect those travel dates. It does include airfare from
Yes.
16 major gateways in the US, and it's an all-inclusive cruise. And if you book a suite, and there are suites available, I've quoted them for clients that are looking seriously at it, it includes butler service.
Yes, it does.
Now, I know you're used to butler service, considering
Well, I was crew, so.
you're used to watching butler service. I hear about it.
Right.
And I've experienced butler service 3 times, and on a garden villa on a Norwegian ship, and I got to tell you, there's no going back.
Did they unpack for you?
I didn't need the unpacking, but I was with I do some corporate travel and corporate incentives, and with some of my corporate groups. And the key was I had people over my cabin every night, the suite. And I had this deck that would hold like 40 people in a hot tub. So we'd entertain them to kind of network. And then we'd about to leave and go, oh guys, I got to clean up. I said, the butler will get it.
How many times in your life do you get to ever say that, right?
I said that every night. They're like, enough, we know, your butler will get it. I mean, and then the butler, he does, more comfort stuff, and then he actually has an assistant that does the hardcore cleaning, so it's a nice operation. So but suites are available, cabins are available. We have the lowest rates available anywhere because group rates are lower than what's available online, and there are no more groups available.
Correct.
So this is it, and I have them published on my website, bucketwishtrip.com. On the homepage, there's a link there. There's details on the homepage. There's a link there that does forward to more details. And do contact me directly, David Hartman, 305-453-9208, or dave@bucketwishtrip.com, or message me here on Facebook and tell me that, hey, I want to hear more about that amazing cruise. Any of the cruises we talked about. We did talk about South America today and cruises that lead up to our departure on November 28th from Ushuaia, deep in South America. And then we did talk about how we're going to spend multiple landings per day.
Yes.
As always, we have a trademark here called Dive to Conditions, and I read it very clear on the website, your website, that it's sail to conditions, captain's choice.
Yes.
Because you are going through a pretty, a little bit of a rougher area at times.
Well, the Drake Passage, people
Sure.
are a lot of people know a lot and have heard a lot about the Drake Passage. As I mentioned, I just did this in December. So it's typically about a 36-hour sailing. It can be considered the Drake Lake or the Drake Shake. So it really depends on, you've got several oceans converging there, so it really just depends on the conditions of when you're
Sure.
there. But I really like to say that it's really like the Mount Everest of the sea, because it is an amazing experience that it really is a rite of passage into this amazing continent that people get to see maybe once in a lifetime if they're lucky. So it really, that's how I looked at it, as sort of climbing the Mount Everest of the sea. We were in probably about 30-foot seas when I did it, going across. But then I've talked to many people that have been on a lake, so it can be either way.
Sure. Well, that's part of cruising in general.
Yep.
I mean, I have clients that do transatlantic. It could be great. It could be, oh my God. And the nice thing about it, but the Drake Passage is a very small part of the itinerary. The main part of the key is that it's Ushuaia, Drake Passage, then Antarctica.
Right.
In the first days, and then I'm getting advice from Carrie. Move camera towards her a bit. Okay. Which camera, Harry? We're getting production advice from Harry, the man who, general manager of A1A Radio. And then you're multiple landings on the Antarctica Peninsula. So you're actually stepping on the last continent, or the lost continent, they call it. Oh, we're moving in a little bit. There we go. Hey, all right. And then you go see the other islands. So what else are we going to see? I believe.
So there's the South Shetland Islands.
South Shetland Islands,
but then we do what's called captain's choice. And the reason for that is the captains on all of these ships are constantly in contact with each other, because the one thing in Antarctica is the weather changes very fast. So in fact, one of the days I was on board, it was a beautiful sunny day during the day, and then we were out on deck at 11 o'clock at night and it was snowing. And having lived on board ships for 10 years, I had never experienced snow on board a ship. So that was pretty exciting. So the captains speak back and forth to each other for a lot of reasons. One, because a passage can close very quickly. So they let each other know about that, how the ice conditions are, but also for wildlife and what the best viewing is.
Sure.
And another reason is so that the bays and the harbors where the vessels are, you're usually only maybe the only one there. You might see another ship in passing, but you really want to have this experience in this part of the world where you aren't seeing other cruise ships and other vessels there. So that's why we do Captain's Choice, because they obviously know the best region to take you to with the best viewing and the best conditions.
And that makes sense. I mean, leave it to the expert to decide where you're going to go. And you're still going to get to your destination, but I saw that there is some flexibility in the itinerary.
Yes.
And that's the idea of expedition cruising. This isn't your typical 7-night Caribbean cruise where it's the same ports you've already seen before. These are absolutely niche ports, even outside of Antarctica. And that's why we started talking about their South America itineraries, because even though South America cruises are offered by many major cruise lines, I like the fact that you guys visit niche ports.
Yes.
And you have, and I love the overnights.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
That's fun. And the beauty about the Captain's Choice is it's really an adventure inside of an adventure. So,
sure.
I mean, they're taking you to the best places that you could possibly go to.
And I love the itinerary, and of course, on the 7th day, December 4th, 2021, is going to be a complete, total solar eclipse in the Antarctic region. We'll actually be at sea,
yes,
but in an area that's known to have a lot of sun that time of year. So we're expecting an unbelievable experience with a scientist on board to talk about it and educational discussions. What's nice about these luxury type cruises and luxury expeditions is they have experts on board. They have the ongoing informational talks.
Yes.
And then never mind the briefings by the expedition experts. Then we talked about the clothing. No need to pack your down jacket. And you want to, they supply the big boots and the big parkas. And it's impressive to have 18 Zodiacs on board. It's more than most rafting companies I know.
Right. And the kayaks and the paddleboards. So you can get on the water. And then the other thing I'd like to also bring to your attention is the bow of the ship. We have a viewing area that's only 30 feet above the water. So for a lot of people that have cruised before, their thought process may be, well, I'm on a boat or I'm on a ship, but I don't feel like I'm on the water. When you're only 30 feet above the waterline, you can really see the wildlife and the viewing. And I was in one of the harbors at about 5:30 one night, and we had hundreds of whales breaching all around us. So to be able to be on the bow of the ship, we actually coined it Whale Happy Hour, just because of the time. But
so the itinerary includes Whale Happy Hour. Can't beat that. But this is a cruise I'm sailing on, and I'm promoting our group with special group rates, lowest rates available. And it's November 28th to December 10th, 2021 on the World Navigator from Atlas Ocean Voyages. Round trip Ushuaia.
Round trip Ushuaia.
It includes the charter flight from Buenos Aires Regional Airport to Ushuaia, and also international air to Buenos Aires I forget the names, but Easy-E, I think?
Easy. That's it, yep.
I just know the codes, not the name. to the international airport in Buenos Aires, and that's from 16 major gateways in the U.S., and it's an unbelievable value when you look at what's included. And give me a call to talk about the cruise. David Hartman, 305-453-9208, dave@bucketwishtrip.com. It's a brand new cruise ship launching next July, and this is for next November, December 2021. But again, we here are live at the Concourse of the Enjoy the Journey Luxury Travel Show on the A1A Media Network. We thank you all for joining today. I just want to give a shout out to a few people as we begin to wrap up. We got about 15 more minutes to talk about some questions. And thank you all the listeners of Radio A1A and Cruising Country Radio. Harry Tieford's running the board today for that. And thank you everyone on my Facebook live feed and for joining. It's been a fantastic show, and having Atlas Ocean Voyages here, a brand new Luxe-Expedition cruise line. And definitely go back in the feed and check out our talk about South America. Those itineraries, I would say, are a little more affordable than Antarctica, shorter itineraries, include airfare. So if you look at the price, the inclusiveness of the cruise and the airfare ends up being a great value. And it's on a brand new ship with, I think, is it 200 passengers?
196.
196 passengers. That's like you and a few best friends.
It is, and it'll be 186 in Antarctica because of the expedition team we'll have on board, and the ornithologists and glaciologist and all of the different people, as you mentioned, that will be giving this speaking.
Well, we're hoping for 10 plus from my group to be on board. So we're looking forward to whale happy hour on the Antarctica cruise, and plus multiple landings on the Antarctica Peninsula. You get to set foot on a place most travelers have not gone.
Yes.
I mean, one client here who has a business in town, I booked her in Antarctica. It was her husband at the time's bucket list trip. And I was so thankful to find a ship for at the time. You guys were not around, obviously. And like, they'd been everywhere else. It was so hard to find someone. They were just unbelievable travelers. They had that luxury, and they had a great time.
Yeah.
They loved everything about the cruise and the people, and it's just wonderful.
And the fantastic thing too is if you visit Antarctica 2-3 times, you're never going to experience the same trip, because it's always going to be different wildlife. It's always going to be, the glaciers are going to be different. So it's never going to be the same exact experience. So multiple sailings there is definitely a must. And we are actually also doing an Antarctic Circle cruise as well. So we're crossing the Antarctic Circle.
Well, you offered a few Antarctic cruises, which I was impressed with, not just one. And of course, you know why I chose this one. It was the whale happy hour. I mean, for that too, but obviously because of the solar eclipse, I needed something absolutely no one else was offering.
Right.
And despite that being available, I've not heard of another cruise line promoting it. So you guys are really onto something unique there, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. And that's why it's available. More details on bucketwishtrip.com, my website. You can read all about that cruise, and you can check out their website too, but please call me for questions, and we have the best rates out there because of our, thank you for the promotional group rates. And it's just been really a pleasure working with your company from start to finish.
Thank you.
It's been refreshing in the area of fighting with other cruise lines. It's been great working with you guys. I do want to shout out to a few people who have been enjoying the show. And Michael Marinelli, thank you. He's one of the sponsors. Thanks for being on. Brandon's on. Brandon and Michelle are on from Atlas Ocean Voyages. Michelle is my direct sales rep, and Brandon is the VP of sales. Check out the show. It's in our YouTube page, A1A Media Network YouTube, and also on my feed. On June 8th is the show. Brandon made a great appearance. We talked about Bucket List Mediterranean, which is awesome. Margaret Argenio, thanks for being here. As an old high school friend, my aunt Jean's on. Denise Todd, appreciate you being here. Looking for questions from you guys. Oh, I got a few questions here. All right. So obviously people are concerned about cruising. So what is Atlas doing with health protocols and standards based on what's happening right now? How are you guys planning ahead?
Sure. Well, we're obviously listening and following everything that CLIA, which is the Cruise Line Association, and the CDC are putting out there. So, and that's the beauty of building the new ship, is that all of these latest and greatest technologies that everybody is having to implement and put on a ship that's currently built, we're able to include that now in the new build. So we're keeping our eyes and ears to all of the latest technology and adding that on as we move forward.
Excellent question. Thank you from the audience. I think it was Skip Sherman made that question. Thanks, Skip. Hey, Skip, thanks for being here. And that's the key now, is safety is on everyone's mind.
Of course.
And I'm looking forward to cruising again. If a cruise is leaving tomorrow, I'd go on it. I mean, that's how I believe the regulations within the Coast Guard and the individual cruise lines. So it's nice that you guys have a chance to kind of ramp up for that.
Well, and like I said, you're speaking to someone that lived on them for 10 years. So I spent a lot of time on board ships and went through a lot of different scenarios of viruses that were out there. And really, I mean, it is amazing the amount of USPH and the cleanliness that goes on behind the scenes that most people aren't aware of, and is, I would hands down say, probably much more than you see in other hospitality arenas.
I agree. I mean, it's just right now, to me, the CDC is so involved with cruising. I'm like, can you get more involved in airlines? 'Cause you know, certain airlines, I won't name them, you know who they are. They said, no, we're selling them full now.
I just flew in May and it was full.
Yeah, I flew out in June. I actually, you were my first experience with someone traveling.
Yeah.
I had business in Austin. I didn't fly, but it was pretty wide open. I upgraded to first class on the way there and didn't even need to. It was, I had my
You
own
got
row.
lucky.
I had my own row, but that's all changing. So, and I'm gonna see hotels. I mean, it's like, I don't mind what the CDC is doing per se, but they really need to get their nose out of cruising in my mind and say, hey, just be consistent for all the industries. That's my view, just my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. So looking for some more questions out there. Oh, of course, Everett McCaskey, thank you for being on the feed. Everett and his family are thinking about going. We know the answer, but he was just want to be sure, are kids allowed on board? And which cruises are they not allowed?
Yes, no, we are multi-generational friendly cruise line. The only exception that we have there is Antarctica, and the children have to be 8 years and older, and that is mandated by Antarctica, not by us.
Very good. Everett KGM qualifies. So that's only for Antarctica, not the other cruises.
Correct.
Okay. So regular, what's the minimum? I imagine?
Any of the other sailings, we have triples on board.
Okay.
So there's space. We do not have quads on board, but we have triples, and we have so it is for multi-generational families. Absolutely.
Okay. And then I imagine it must be a minimum, right? Minimum as far as pregnancy, a minimum as far as the age of the infant.
Yes, we're still in the process of that policy, so I don't know that answer right now off the top of my head. But there's always, with all the cruise lines I've worked for before, there's always a minimum age, and there is a minimum with the amount of travel that somebody can do before they are expecting. Yeah,
I mean, again, it's going to be all about guidelines, and this is easy to plan ahead because you guys launch next July. And the first cruise is in Europe, right? Mediterranean?
Yes, in July, and the first cruise is actually waitlisted. So
congratulations.
Yes, we're very excited about that. The solar eclipse that cruise is flying off the shelves as well. I mean, everybody is really excited about that because, as I mentioned, it is really a trifecta of being able to, one, visit Antarctica, two, land on it, and then see a solar eclipse that won't happen in that same area for another 400 years.
Again, to me, it was a no-brainer to put my reputation and company behind it, and that's why I have a group on board. The Solar Antarctic Cruise, November 28th to December 10th, 2021 on the World Navigator from Atlas Ocean Voyages. It's going to be an unbelievable experience. Where else can you see South America, see Buenos Aires, learn the tango, have a whale happy hour, spend time in the Lost Continent, and also witness a total solar eclipse all on the same trip. And if you have time off, we have amazing South America itineraries if you want to sail before that and meet us in Buenos Aires. Or actually meet us in Ushuaia if you want. Hey, you can avoid the charter flight and just meet us in Ushuaia. It's a no-brainer. So definitely, again, to get a hold of these guys and find out more about their itineraries, the best resources is their website, atlasoceanvoyages.com, also on Facebook.
Yes.
And then they have a great PR department that does a fantastic job. Brand new website, 2.0. And then to reach them, any questions, I know their cruise is cold. This is what I do. I own a travel agency, Fantastic Endeavors, and bucket list and bucket wish travel is what I specialize in. And this cruise line falls into what I do for my clients. It's 305-453-9208, dave@bucketwishtrip.com. We have 5 minutes left for a few more questions. I wanted to reach out again to the A1A Music in Paradise group for joining the feed. We're doing a direct feed there today. Thank you all. And Bonnie's been on the feed there watching everyone. Any comments? I'm going to look up right now, see if any more questions. Everyone here on Facebook Live, thank you for being here on the A1A Media Network and Cruising Country Radio on simulcast today. Appreciate being here. Definitely check out the new music store. It is brand new launch this weekend. It is on radioa1a.com, and that's obviously the resource for your Tropical American 40. And for those of you on this feed that aren't aware of the A1A Media Network, they are based here in Almirada. They are the home of tropical Americana music, all independent artists. And obviously Cruising Country Radio is more of a country tinge, but these are just great music. You were familiar with Radio A1A when I met you.
Absolutely.
And they have just fantastic music. And then Don Lee Carpenter actually was one I met last year and scheduled a cruise with me, and fantastic group. I got to get really involved in tropical Americana music, being involved with Donovan, who's more country, but now he's going more tropical Americana. So a shout out to Donovan out there. Linda Robb, thank you for joining. Trying to say hello to everyone and answer questions in the chat. And question for you, so what's your favorite cruise itinerary? Since you've been to 86 countries and worked on many cruises. Now it's tough to say, maybe as a leisure guest not working, because it's hard to absorb a destination when you're working.
Well, we never really went anywhere bad.
Of course not.
The beauty is, we can move around if there's bad weather or something like that, but it's funny because I used to get asked that question a lot when I was on the ships, and my answer typically wasn't one that was a destination specific, but it was really where I had made friends in the area, because it changes the whole environment to know the locals and to be able to experience that. So I spent a year in Tahiti. That wasn't hard duty. So that was one of my favorites. But I would also say that, and it's actually something you and Brandon spoke about on your last radio show, is the Amalfi Coast. So Sorrento, Capri, it is just breathtakingly beautiful. And to be able to be there on a small yacht-sized ship where you can have these tenders that land right ashore in Ravello or Amalfi, it makes it's an experience of a lifetime.
Amalfi Coast, I plan a lot of travel to Italy, and Amalfi's always like the first thing out of their mouth. That and Florence, obviously. Mm-hmm. I'm actually planning a honeymoon for a young couple I met. There were renters next door to me here in the Keys, and they called me on Saturday ready to plan their honeymoon. And I give them credit for people in their mid-20s. They want to spend 2 weeks, but they want to get married in the Amalfi Coast.
Oh, wow, wow. That would be a beautiful place to get married.
Hey, Michelle Suarez, my sales rep for Atlas Ocean Voyages, chimed in. Minimum age for children is 6 months old, except for Antarctica, where it's 8 years old. We encourage families to travel with us. However, we will not have a youth program. So that's okay.
Thanks, Michelle. I was going to say 6 months, but I didn't want to say it and not be 100% sure. I knew it was 8 years for Antarctica, though. But no, we don't have like a kids program on board, because the amount of real estate that we have on a small ship is. We have that for a lot of other areas, like our spa and wellness, which will be run by Luxe-Expeditions. If anybody is familiar with those beautiful shops that you see that are very Mediterranean, has that feel of Italy or France or Provence. So we will have a Luxe-Expeditions spa on board and all of their amenities in all of the staterooms and suites as well.
Well, I like the fact mentioned before, which I kind of glossed over initially, but the spa. Come on, that's a selling point. That's awesome. But I do appreciate the fact that you do have triples, which I priced one already for my group, and the fact that you do allow kids even on the expedition cruises. And thank you, Michelle, for chiming in. So we're going to begin to wrap up. It's been a wonderful show. I do appreciate Alicia Logan, Sales Director of Atlas Ocean Voyages. They are a sponsor of my show, the Enjoy the Journey Luxury Travel Share here on the A1A Media Network. And they are a new cruise line launching in July 2021 with the World Navigator. A brand new build ship, holds 196 passengers, and it is Luxe-Expedition cruising. So we appreciate you all joining today. Appreciate the Conch House, Key Largo Conch House. Ted and Laura Dweaver, the owners here, mile marker 100.2 on the ocean side. And do appreciate the rest of our sponsors and everyone following on the A1A Music to the Road to Paradise, A1A Media Network, and everyone on Facebook Live. Please message me or contact me if you have any questions, and we'll see you next week. Have a great Monday.
Thanks, everyone.
Atlas Ocean Voyages offers smaller ships designed for Luxe-Expeditions that extend the reach of adventure travel by sea, with their first ship launching in July 2021. Venture to small villages and remote locations, from the desert city of Petra to the frozen tundra of Antarctica. To experience Atlas Ocean Voyages, call David Hartman at 305-453-9208 or email dave@bucketwishtrip.com.
Hello, David Hartman with Fantastic Endeavors. Fantastic Endeavors is a full-service travel agency based in Key Largo, Florida, specializing in custom individual and group travel. Our luxury travel advisors inspire people to answer two questions. What is your bucket list trip? And where do you wish you were right now? Fantastic Endeavors will personally tailor your journey to your needs. We build extraordinary, enriching experiences curated just for you. Call us today at 305-453-9208 or email at dave@bucketwishtrip.com. Enjoy the journey.
The Health Genie System Checker answers 3 important questions when you are feeling ill. What is wrong with me? How ill am I? And where can I receive care? System Checker puts the information and answers at your fingertips with the most advanced triage and healthcare technologies available. Engage on a personal level in your own words to describe your symptoms with no smart trees or drop-down menus that force self-diagnosis. Health Genie System Checker provides an avenue to early healthcare engagement.
Come on, what are you waiting for? There's serving rum up, it's right next door. There's a party on the sandbar in the Keys.